Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and you can see I'm hanging out in a brand new test world. I'm actually in version 1.1 of Minecraft because I'm doing a mod spotlight today on IndustrialCraft, the latest changes in version 1.61, which is going to be released pretty soon. I was excited to get an early release copy to help do a little bug testing, and I'm doing an official spotlight for IndustrialCraft to check out all the changes that they're putting in the latest version. So without further ado, let's get started checking out some of these things. I'm going to show some of the more basic changes and then move on to some of the more interesting and exciting stuff. So there's a lot to cover, let's go. Alright guys, I'm going to hook up the first bit of change we've got going on here. I just hooked up a pump above a little lava lake. Got a combustion engine, and this is all BuildCraft stuff so far. I'm going to activate the engine here and have it start pumping out these lava source blocks into this pipe. And I'm going to give myself a geothermal generator, because one of the first changes that we've got here is that geothermal generators can now accept lava directly from BuildCraft pipes. Now of course we need somewhere for this energy to go, so let's get an MFSU here. And ta-da! The lava was pumped directly into the geothermal generator and is now running and filling up my MFSU. So, no longer needing any mods or changes, geothermal generators in standard IndustrialCraft can now accept lava from liquid transport pipes, part of BuildCraft. While I'm here, I've just given myself an electric wrench, and I'm going to charge it up in my MFSU. Now, if I know what I'm doing here, hold the letter M on your keyboard and right-click, and you'll see Lossless Wrench Mode enabled or disabled. So, as you guys are familiar with, wrenches have a tendency to have a chance to break machines, and you might get a machine block or a standard generator if I were to break this. But if you put on Lossless Wrench Mode by holding M and right-clicking, you can enable it and right-click, and notice how much energy was drained from the wrench, a significant portion. However, we're guaranteed to get our geothermal generator back. We will not lose the machine. Of course, it takes a bit of energy to make sure that you have that perfect transition, but there you go. It's an option, and I believe it takes 10,000 energy units to break a machine without any chance of losing it. And while talking about the electric wrench, you're all familiar with the fact that right-clicking with an electric wrench reorients the block to face whatever block you click on. However, if it's easier for you, you can now hold the Alt key and right-click, and it'll simply randomly rotate the block all around. As you can see, I'm clicking on the same side, and it's rotating all over the place. So this way, by holding Alt, you don't have to click on the block face where you want things to face. Just keep rotating until you get it to where you want it to be. Now, the next thing I want to show you is that the mining laser has changed just a little bit. Not terribly, but there's a new mining mode, and they also actually changed up how the low focus mode works. So let's cover the low focus mode first. I'm currently in low focus mode, and you can see that the range of the low focus has improved a little bit, but it's still only going to break one block. So even if I'm right up against this, it's going to break one block, but it'll go a little bit further, much further than it did before. A new mode that they added here is called horizontal mode. And let's get a good amount of light for this one. If you put it on horizontal mode and you aim at the block, when you first shoot, it's like a long-range shot that goes straight forward. And the next shoot will be at your feet. So it's a super efficient way to create some tunnels. Look at that. And it keeps it extremely horizontal, so no more accidentally shooting off to the bottom and clearing out the floor underneath your feet. So a very efficient way to create some tunnels. Very cool. I like that mode. It's actually something I've been looking forward to for a while and wanted to have. The next change is a pretty interesting one. I've just hooked up a bat box here to a compressor and placed a coal chunk in there. Those of you familiar with IndustrialCraft know that coal chunks, which are created using a bunch of coal and a bunch of processes, winds up being 64 coal, produce an industrial diamond. And industrial diamonds can be used in place of all items in IndustrialCraft. However, they just changed it to create a regular old diamond. Industrial diamonds have been depreciated, they're no longer available, and you can just get regular old diamonds this way. That now you can use these diamonds in BuildCraft and any other mods that you want. They also added, for those of you who are upgrading from older worlds, the ability to convert your industrial diamonds into normal diamonds. You can see here, there's a process somewhere, I don't know where it is, it might not be listed in NEI, but there is a way to convert them. Now while we're sitting here taking a look at this compressor, and I'll connect my cable to it again, you'll note that there's these 4 little extra bars over on the side. What are these guys about? Well, let's go look in here through this little NEI system that we've got, and you'll notice that there's a couple more items here. You've got the overclocker upgrade, the transformer upgrade, and the energy storage upgrade. And those of you who have used IndustrialCraft quite a bit might have some ideas about what this does, and you'd probably be correct. Everybody knows what happens if we take an MFE, for example, something that emits 128 energy units per tick, and forget to place an LV transformer in between the MFE and the compressor. I know it all too well, as a matter of fact. Let's see, I'm going to place my coal chunk in here. Oh, kaboom. That's a problem. Let's take a look at the first upgrade that we have available. If I place down a new compressor, and inside that compressor I'm going to place the transformer upgrade. Let's see what happens if we connect the power now. Hey, it's okay. And we can place coal chunks in there. And it's processing. Excellent. Very cool. So that's the transformer upgrade. It basically allows you to have more energy EU units going into this box at once. No longer an issue if you connect high voltage current. Of course, if you're going to run high voltage current to it, you'll probably need to go ahead and place a second transformer upgrade in there. So let's give that a try. I'm going to just knock this guy off real fast and grab myself an MFSU. As soon as I get some room in my inventory for it, of course. This guy's all ready, and I believe I charged up a Lapotron crystal over here. Perfect. Let's throw this guy in here and just put a little bit of energy inside. Ready to go. What happens if we try to run this now? Oh, no. Not so good. It blew up again on us. Oh well, let's try to place a second. Right, I should probably place that down. So let's take 2 of these transformer upgrades and place them inside the compressor. Hey, no problem. Compressor happily accepting high voltage current. And you'll note that these transformer upgrades do stack inside this block. You don't have to have them in separate slots. Awesome. Now how much energy we got in here? 27,440? What happens if I were to take an energy storage unit and place it in there? That energy storage upgrade, and maybe just get this machine running. Hey, it stole 10,000 energy units. Cool. So the energy storage upgrade basically means this internal storage piece, if we put all 64 in there, let's charge this guy up to 100,000 or so, which is way more than it needs to be. And we just need to trigger the machine to try to run again real quick. And that's what causes the machine to upgrade. And you'll see it's draining all this energy out and storing it in its internal buffer. So right now, the machine can store more energy in its internal buffer because I placed energy storage upgrades in there. Very cool. And finally, we've got the overclocker upgrade. Let's place one of these guys in and place a coal chunk. The overclocker upgrade will increase the rate at which you're able to run your machine, such as your compressor, and cause it to just move a lot faster, but at the cost of more energy. Yeah, 16 of those seem to do pretty well. Yeah, alright, that was definitely fast. So with 16 overclocker upgrades, this thing basically runs instantly. If we went with 8 overclocker upgrades, noticeable improvement in speed, but obviously a lot more energy required to run. And because we've got our energy storage upgrades in there, we're able to store a lot of energy. So there you go. The more energy is going to cost you, but if you have a lot of energy and you're pretty far advanced in IndustrialCraft, go for it. And the recipes for these guys are as shown. Transformer upgrade, energy storage upgrade, and overclocker upgrade. A minor change, but pretty neat. The IndustrialCraft painter, which is used to paint cables to keep them from touching, and also to paint the CF stuff, can now be used on wool. So now you can paint your wool to your heart's content and repaint it. Sweet. Alright guys, so now I'm running a little bit further away from where I've been working, and I've got a terraformer here. You know, terraformers are definitely one of my favorite items in IndustrialCraft. I'm going to throw some Lapotron crystals into my MFSU here to charge it up. There's a new blueprint, terraformer blueprint, mushroom. Look at that, needs some mycelium, some mushrooms, and an empty TFBP. terraformer blueprint. Let's stick this guy in here and see how he works. Remember, you want to right-click on your terraformers. Kazoom. There we go. Now I'm going to let this guy run here for a few minutes. Wonder if it's doing anything. Hey, look! Some mycelium. Cool. That's pretty neat. Oh yeah. We're terraforming. I'll be back in a few minutes after this has been running, and we'll see what kind of things start happening around here. Alright guys, not a whole lot of time has passed here, but I did throw some more Labratron crystals in just to ensure this guy has a nice steady supply of power coming into him. And you can see a lot of blueprint happening already. We've got some serious mycelium going on and a lot of mushrooms being planted. So I can only imagine what this area is going to look like a little bit later if this thing continuously runs on a steady supply of power and continues to upgrade and expand this mycelium area. Alright guys, I think I covered almost everything. I should mention that there's been a lot of bug fixes in this release, so a lot of things have changed. And the final thing I want to cover before going and wrapping up this mod spotlight on the upgrades to IndustrialCraft is some of the farming that Outblocka has added. Now I'll be honest with you, I'm not really going to be able to cover everything in the farming because from what I've been able to tell so far, there's a lot that has been added. I mean serious business additions here. First off, we've got this electric hoe, built like so. And it does exactly what you would think. It uses IndustrialCraft power to till the land. Now, in order to work with this cool stuff that we've got here, we're going to need some seeds. Alright guys, so what I've done is tilled some land around this little source block of water here. And I'm going to craft some crops. As you can see, the crop recipe is simply 2 sticks on either side, and you get 2 crops for that. Now I'm going to place down my crops like so. Okay, now the crops are what you want to plant your seeds in. So I've got down here on my hotbar some melon, pumpkin, and regular wheat seeds. I'm going to place wheat over here. Let's do, these guys are the pumpkin ones. And we'll put the melons there. And I'll do another pumpkin and another melon right there like that. That looks good. Now the next item I need to do is take my crop analyzer. And I'm pretty sure that's intended naming, so don't say that's a spelling error, because I said that was a spelling error, and they laughed at me and said, no, that's intentional. Now, if you take your crop analyzer there and right-click on these guys, you'll see what type of crops it is. So, pumpkin, melon, wheat, etc. And I'll be back once these guys have grown a little bit. By the way, there's another item that you can craft here. It's called fertilizer. Take a piece of scrap and some bone meal, and you can right-click on these blocks. And I'm not sure, but I'm suspecting that this probably causes things to grow a little bit faster. So I've gone ahead and fertilized my crops, and I'll come back once they've grown. Do note that after some time has passed, you can put more fertilizer in here. Again, I'm guessing it makes things grow faster, but no real idea. Alright guys, so it looks like my wheat here has fully grown. Looks like it's pretty much ready to be harvested based on the graphic. And you can still see when right-clicking on it with the crop analyzer, it says wheat. Makes perfect sense. Now, you can break this wheat like you would any other item, so I'm just going to take, I don't know, a torch and just left-click on it. Alright, we got some wheat and some seeds. And I should also note there's an item called a hydration cell. You can also right-click on these guys, and I'm guessing that also helps it to grow a little bit faster. And I'm waiting for these, for this wheat and stuff to grow a little bit more before breaking that one. Okay, let's try breaking this bit of wheat here. No such luck either. And the way that you make these hydration cells is simple. Get yourself a water cell and place it in an extractor. So I've got my extractor here. I'm going to hook it up to power. There we go. And you can see I've got some upgrades in there to make this faster. Oh, I better put some energy in this extractor, huh? You can see the extractor makes a coolant cell like you would use for your nuclear reactors. But the coolant cell in the extractor is how you get your hydration cell. So just run your coolant cells through your extractor. Alright, looks like my pumpkins and melons are starting to grow. If I take my crop analyzer now and right-click again, it should tell us that this is a pumpkin. This guy over here is also a pumpkin. We're waiting on some melons, but I think we're good. Now if I take and break this thing, you can see that one of the items I get, along with pumpkins, is this unnamed item here. That's what we need to use in the crop analyzer. Now if we take our crop analyzer right now, we need a rechargeable battery, and we need to be ready with this thing, and we right-click on nothing, we get a nice little interface here. The crop analyzer needs energy to run, so I'm placing a rechargeable battery up here, and I'm placing my unnamed item in this slot. You can see it's identified as a pumpkin. And if I place it in the slot again, it adds the orange decoration and stem indications. And a third time shows me the growth, gain, and resistance. So we've completely identified this crop at this point. So now we know we've got a pumpkin hanging out, ready to roll. Awesome. And it looks like this side the pumpkin started growing as well, so why don't I knock that off, and ooh, I got 2 of these things. Sweet. So you can see there's a little bit of randomness in determining how many of these unnamed items you get, and whether you get pumpkins and whatnot that falls off the vine there. But what's interesting is that the pumpkins were able to grow in a 1-block space, so that's awesome. And I'm going to analyze these new ones that I collected right now. Let's get ready to do that. And these should also be pumpkins, FYI. So, place my rechargeable battery in the charging slot and analyze. Pumpkin, tier 1, exactly what I expected it to be. And note that I don't have enough energy to analyze more than one thing in a battery. So let's swap this battery out for another fully charged one. And analyze again. I'm going to analyze this guy and make sure it's also a pumpkin, which it is, obviously. Now let's wait for these melons to grow. Oh, looks like we've got a little bit of growth going on. Perfect timing. Alright. So we've got pumpkins here. I'm going to place them up along the top slot just so I can keep track of everything. And let's start breaking these melons. Ah, sweet. Got one of these little empty bag things. Perfect. Looks like I got 2 of them. So let me charge up my batteries real quick. Alright, so let's grab our crop analyzer. Take these new unknown items and place them in the rechargeable battery slot. Ooh, melon, tier 2. Alright. Green, food, and stem. And we've got our growth rates. So now we've identified this guy. Right? Fully identified. And this should also be a melon, of course. And it is. Perfect. So now we've got our melon seed bags, which I'm going to place right underneath those. I'll even put some stuff in the middle there just to make sure we're good. Alright, so these guys are pumpkins, and these guys are melons. Let's go plant them. So you can see I've got another field here. I'm going to place down my crops. I'm going to place one crop here, and one crop here. Okay. Then I'm going to get one of my melons, and one of my pumpkins. I'll place the melon on this side, and the pumpkin on this side. And I'm going to place a crop in the middle, and if I place a crop on a crop, I get this little crosshatch thing. Now I can take my crop analyzer and right-click, and you'll notice that it tells me that it's a melon, but it's also giving me those numbers, GR, GA, RE. And if you remember from when we looked at this, those numbers indicate the growth, gain, and resistance. So now we just need to let these things grow a little bit and give it some time. And of course we can throw down our hydration cells on these guys, and our fertilizer here, and give it some time to grow. And just to note that this does work on wheat, I just went and harvested some wheat, and you can see that it did drop this unnamed item here, and we've identified wheat with a growth rate. I'm going to plant this new wheat item right next to some melons, as you can see, with these 2 crops in the middle. And let's give it some hydration and some fertilizer. There we go. And I should note to you guys that if you have these crops down and nothing in them, eventually weeds start to grow, and these weeds are bad. They will overtake your other crops and destroy them. So pretty much don't leave these crop things out there with nothing planted, because these weeds will spread to other areas and will eventually overtake the plants that you're planting. Also going to briefly note that you can also place reeds here. So sugarcane can also be planted in crops. Alright guys, after a slight passage of time, you can see that I've got my melon here on the left, my pumpkin on the right, and right in the middle here there's this little growth going on that just started all by itself. And if I right click on it, it's telling me it's an unknown crop. So let's wait for some passage of time for it to grow all the way. And while I'm waiting for those guys to grow, I'm going over here and harvesting my reeds, and I did get a new one of these little things. So let's grab a rechargeable battery here and see if we can't analyze this thing. Oh, it's a reed. Raise your hand if you were shocked. Growth rate of 3, gain of 0, resistance is 2. Okay, interesting information. let's go plant our reed right next to our wheat here. There we go. And I'm going to put one of those crossbreeders in the middle again. And of course, let's hydrate it and fertilize it. And we'll let the reeds grow next to those wheat. So it looks like this plant in the middle here is continuing to grow. I've just been fertilizing it and giving it some water, helping it grow a little bit. You can also see in the middle of these two blocks right here, if I get my crop analyzer, I've got a new unknown crop. It looks like a crossbreed between the wheat and the reeds. So I'm going to give that a little bit more time to grow because I want to make sure that I get a seed packet out of it. Alright guys, I'm about to break this middle thing here. Let's cross our fingers and see what we get from it. Oh, just got a little, looks like sugar canes from it. Interesting. Alright, I'm going to plant down 2 new crops in the middle and see what happens. Alright guys, this middle plant has sprouted something. Let's knock it off and see what we got. Looks like it just became some simple melons. So I'm going to plant another one of these crops in the middle and see if we have any better luck. Alright, another unknown crop it looks like that was breeded between these two things. Let's knock it off and see if we have any luck. Ooh, I got a seed bag that time. Sweet. Let's see what happens. I need to get myself a rechargeable battery here. Open this guy up, place my unknown seeds in here, and oh, it says pumpkin, tier 1. But look, the growth rates are different. We now have a growth rate of 3, a gain of 2, and a resistance of 3. This is quite different from the pumpkin that we had earlier. I think one of these was a pumpkin, right? So this pumpkin was 111, but the new pumpkin I just got is 323. So this pumpkin's going to grow a lot faster than the previous ones. Let's go plant it, let's say right here. And I'll fertilize it and give it some hydration and let that guy grow. So basically what happened is these crops merged. Some of the components of the pumpkin and melon combined to form a new type of crop. And we got that new seed bag there, and now we planted it, and we can harvest those seeds and hopefully combine it with other crops going forward. And it looks like we have a little bit of a combination going on here as well, so I'm going to give this guy a few moments. Alright, looks like this little middle plant thing here, which again is an unknown crop, is fully grown. Let's break it. And great, we got one of these little seed bag things here again, some more unknown seeds. Let's analyze them. Oh, it's definitely a reed, tier 2. Growth 2, gain 1, resistance 1. So this is a reed that has slightly altered stats. Cool. Just a quick note here, you can see I've got some wheat and melons, and there looks to be a brand new type of plant growing in the middle here. This took me a while to finally get something to happen, but I believe there's a new plant here, and if there is, I'll come back and show it. And we just had a bit of growth here, and it definitely looks to be something new. Oh yeah, definitely got something new here. Look at this plant growing right here in between these melons and wheat. So definitely an interesting form of growth. Alright, let's go ahead and try and harvest this thing and see what we get. Oh, sweet. I did get a new type of seed bag. Let's analyze it. I'm not sure which one of these in my inventory here was the one I just picked up, so let's see. Alright, that's a reed, so that's from earlier. This is unknown, so let's analyze it. Ooh, it's a rose bush, tier 2. Red flower roses. Cool. So, I've got a rose bush now. That sounds pretty neat. Let's break this thing and break this thing off. I'm going to plant my rose next to my wheat. Sounds like a good plan, right? So this is the reed. That's a reed. That's my rose down there at the end. Alright, cool. I'll let that guy grow. And I should note to you guys, in case you didn't notice it, I don't think I specifically mentioned this, but if you have a plant that's growing and doing exactly what you want it to do, you don't want to left-click it, because that'll break it down and pick up the seed packet. But if you right-click on it, it'll just harvest and then continue to grow the same exact plant again. So right-click on these agriculture crop things, and it'll harvest what you've got and keep the same plant planted. So there you go. So basically that's the agriculture system. I hope you guys have understood this. It's a little bit tricky. I'm not entirely sure I fully understand everything with regards to this system myself, but there's a lot of things that you'll be able to grow, and I believe that Alblocka has a lot more things planned. So go ahead and play with it, figure it out, and you know, maybe post your results and see what kind of luck you've had growing different types of crops and, you know, combining their traits. So this is Darwell20 signing off on the IC2 Spotlight for the 1.1 upgrade for Minecraft. Hope you guys enjoyed checking it out, and it should be available to everyone soon. Take it easy.